Hey there everybody, it's Mark Riley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Today we're going to be learning how to draw demon wings. And, I did a video on this subject a while back, and it was pretty popular, but I always felt a little bad about the final result because people pointed out that it was not accurate in terms of actual bat wings. And so what I did this time was to pull out a little photo reference of a bat wing. And that's what I'm going to be basing this drawing on. Now, you saw I time-lapsed through this drawing of this female character. That's really not the subject of the video. But if you want to learn how to draw that pose, by all means, request it, and maybe I can put it into an upcoming video. In any case, I'm beginning here by drawing the first of these two wings. Really, we're seeing her from the side here, and we're going to be seeing one of the wings much more than the other. That also makes this video a little bit different from the previous one, in which I really was drawing mainly a character who's facing straight at the camera, and so you saw both of the wings spread out on either side. This time we're going to get the sort of profile view, which I think is kind of an interesting view to see when you're drawing wings. In any case, I've got a line curving up here. You can see where it comes out of her back, sort of the upper back, curves up like so, and then I'm kind of breaking it and then starting with a line, a very long curving upper line here. Now, I've put in a line here to sort of give myself a sense of where to stop drawing the wing, mainly so it doesn't go all the way out of the video frame, which I sometimes do, much to my embarrassment. And what I'm going to do is, using that line that I put in there somewhat randomly, just in terms of the size of wing that I wanted to create, I'm putting in a long curving line here that's going to give me the outside edge of this wing, again, to know where it's going to stop. And you'll eventually see how each one of the little points of this bat-like wing will meet up with that line. And then I'm going to go over here and draw the lower line, using maybe her elbow as a guideline. I'm going to come all the way out here, and this is going to intersect right there with that line. And that's going to give us basically the size of this. Now, I want to point out that a lot of people, when they watch these videos about wings, say, those wings are not large enough to carry a human body into the air. And I got a little curious about this to see if anyone had tried to figure out what would really be required. I looked online, sort of searched, and found that somebody on a blog had actually tried to estimate how large wings would have to be in order to carry a human body into the air. And they said if you were 6 feet tall, you would need 48 feet wide wings in order to, aerodynamically lift a body into the air. And, I could do that in terms of a drawing, but you'd end up with this tiny little body over here. And my main goal here is not so much on aerodynamic believability, but just something that looks good to me. But let's get back to the lines and sort of explaining what I'm doing here. Now, the hand shape that forms up here, and I'm indebted to viewers for pointing that out to me, that a bat's wings really look sort of like a hand, because it is in fact the arm, modified with webbing and so forth. So what I've got going on here, think of this as the hand, and this is these are the fingers coming out. If you want to do one of these more realistic bat-like wings, you are going to have 4 fingers. Last time when I was doing the video, somewhat comically, I was like, what are these called? Spokes? Or whatever. People told me they are actually just called fingers. And hopefully they're right about that. But the one thing that's going to make this wing very different from what I did last time is I am going to actually follow the bat. Let me go ahead and pull this out. Trusty bat photo. Notice how this elbow is coming down into the surface of the wing. And then bending back up towards the hand. So that's kind of what I'm going to be emulating here. And what happens is the elbow, such as it is of that arm, is here mid-wing. And if you're thinking of these as actual arms, They are, at least in my design, fairly scrawny looking arms. I'm not going to try to really think of them, because she's got her real arms here. That's another thing that becomes a little tricky because it is a fantasy character, and if you were trying to do realistic, like bat-like creature, you would have to get rid of the arms, and these wings are the arms. But that's not really what we're doing here. So we're kind of modifying, bringing together two different things. So anyway, in terms of the spacing of these four fingers, I think it's up to you, depending on how wide open the wing is, how widely these are spaced. But I think you do want these to be evenly spaced, these three areas that are created by those. And then you have a wider area down here. And I should say this idea of using the... using this elbow in the middle of the wing, if that looks weird to you, don't do it. I just thought I would try it because I did. A lot of people were sort of like, Mark, that's the wings that you're creating are total fantasy. They don't bear any resemblance to actual bat wings. And I thought, well, let's try. See what happens when you try to go a little more anatomically accurate. So this gives us the basic structure of the wing on this side. What I want to do is show you how I would drop in a second wing around here. And what's kind of nice in terms of drawing with this wing is that it's so much obscured by the wing that's in the foreground that we don't have to worry about it too much. Of course, you do want it to look like it's attaching to the same part over here on this side of her shoulder blade or whatever. So that basically, pay attention to that. And I think also we're going to get another line back here maybe that's showing us as this curves down the other tip of it. But, nicely, conveniently, it is almost entirely blocked by the wing in the foreground, and so I don't have to sweat the details too much with this. Now, what I want to do is sort of zoom in just for a second to show you some of the details of this hand area as I begin to refine that, and then we'll come back and start getting into the shading. So again, I looked at the bat wing for a certain amount of the reference, and I think maybe this thumb thing would come out in the opposite direction if we were thinking of it as an actual thumb. So I am sort of taking liberties, but I wanted to try to show you the width of these, I keep wanting to call them spokes, these sort of fingers as they come across. At this point is when we're really sort of refining things, tightening up. You're going to want to focus on getting the width of each of these similar to one another. You don't want one to be radically wider than the other. And I'm going to be devoting quite a lot of this video to the shading, because that's really what is going to make or break this drawing, I think. The more shading you add, the more three-dimensional these wings are going to look. But that basically shows you how I would take this second step of refining the look of it. Now, you might want to give just a little more kind of musculature here. Again, if this looks weird to you, just skip it. People have their different ideas in terms of how much these things are just fantasy creations versus truly anatomically accurate. But that basically gives you that second step there. And what I'm going to do now is pull out my trusty black Prismacolor and do some final line work before coming back to do the toning or the shading on the wing. Now you're going to see me kind of shade in this figure in advance just to get that in the way. That'll all be in time lapse, but I am going to do this as much as I can in real time. So let's get to it. Alright, so sorry I had to shade that all in time-lapse, of course. Again, if you want me to do a special video on this pose and this whole part of the drawing, I can do that. But for now, we're really focused on the wings, and I want to show you how I'm going to go about shading these wings, hopefully as much of it as possible in real time. And I'm going to put down a sort of a base tone here, holding my pencil quite low to the paper. Not really focused on anything other than just the evenness of gray. In fact, I wouldn't even worry too much about your pencil going outside of the lines. There's a certain loss of control when you are holding your pencil so low like this and so far away from the tip. But in a way, that loss of control is your friend. Give into it, man. You can't be in control all the time. Embrace the looseness, dude. I better stop with that before I alienate half of my audience. Some people like the voices, other people can't stand it. And you'll see it every once in a while in the comment section. If you do that Brooklyn accent one more time, I am unsubscribing. In any case, just adding in as much as I can an even tone. Now, how about if we just sort of stop with this for a second so that I can move on to another part that will, be more useful in terms of instruction. And that is that my first goal is to get the basic light and shadow of what happens when a curved surface, a sort of umbrella-like surface, is hit with light from above. And so we're going to get a lot of darkness on the inside or the upper edge of each one of these subdivided spaces. We're back to the subdivisions, the subsection of this subsection. And so you keep repeating that on the upper edge of each one of these, and you begin to get, hopefully, an effect of three-dimensionality. Now, this is just the bare beginnings of it, and I'm going to keep refining it. But this is step one for me in terms of the shading, is getting that light and shadow based on the shape of the wing. In terms of the shadows that would be cast if you actually put light upon a surface that is repeatedly curved like this. Now, what I'm going to do now, and again, I think I'll just sort of confine my attention to this section over here, and then that way we can cover more ground in the shortest period of time possible. My second shading aspect here is, and this is just a personal thing that I want to do, to make this wing a little more interesting to look at, is I'm going to create, this would be more like coloring, like imagining that this area of the wing is actually a little darker. Whatever color, let's imagine that her wings are red. This area here is going to be a darker red, or sort of like a dark brownish red. Imagine it that way. And this is going to spread all across the edge, the way I'm imagining it, of this wing. Now, what happens is, because you've kind of got two different shading things going on here, you've got a coloring, that's sort of reflecting the surface tone of this dark area versus a lighter area over here. But then you also have to remember about the form shadow, the shadow that is being cast by light hitting this curved surface. So you may need to go back in a little bit. See how I'm doing this? And I'm holding my pencil tighter, getting a little more precision. You may need to go back in, especially in this area that you've decided is a darker section of the wing. And that can really add an illusion of three-dimensionality. Now, I can sort of tell right now that I'm not going to be able to do all of this real time. But hopefully you're getting some of the techniques that you are going to see me spread across this whole surface. And I'm even going to imagine a secondary area of tone here. Again, this is not light hitting the wing, but rather just a sort of coloration that's going on. And this is just my idea. It's something that I think helps the wing look a little more solid when there's more than one color at work. And then finally, the last things that I would be doing is maybe building up additional tone here along these fingers, if that is indeed what they are called. And maybe, if you want to, just getting little nicks and scratches that begin to indicate a surface of some kind, a sort of weathered surface. I did a lot of that on the previous video. I don't see this female character as having quite the level of torn up, battered wings as that guy did, but it does sort of help in terms of creating solidity to add a little additional dots and so forth like that. Well, sadly, I think I am going to have to cruise through the rest of this in time-lapse, but I hope you saw some of the techniques that I did there. I suppose the last thing that I can do here in real time maybe is show you how this arm structure down here is going to indeed get a little shading all its own. Not so much in terms of coloration, but this would just be the kind of shadows that would be cast as light hit upon this. And maybe one final technique, I keep thinking, and here's one last technique, using the eraser to lighten up some of those, every time I say lighten up, it sounds like, dude, lighten up. I'm back to the surfer, dude. That is your voice du jour today, the surfer guy. Just lighten up, man. That can help to, add a little more three-dimensionality to that finger area popping up off of the surface. But let's go ahead and use time-lapse to finish this off, and I'll be back with a few final words. Alright, well, there's my video on how to draw demon wings. Please let me know what you thought, especially in terms of the level of difficulty. I'm always not sure whether the videos are too hard or too easy, or hopefully just right somewhere between the two. Let me know what you think in that regard, or about any aspect of these videos. But I'm not done until I add these little blushies, am I? There we go. And I want to thank anyone who has ever supported me by getting any of my books. We got The Brody's Ghost, we got Miki Falls graphic novel series, both of those available right now, and Mastering Manga, which I saw in my local Barnes & Noble yesterday. I was pretty psyched about that. But let's go ahead and lay down this pencil. I want to thank everyone who has watched this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.